Hello everyone, it's me Hattie and I am back for part 2 of the Great Gatsby mansion. So this is going to be the whole of the interior for the first floor and for the garden, and for part 3, because I'm going to do part 3, that is going to be the second floors above the first floor, and it's going to get pretty interesting then. And the reason why I did choose to do it in 3 parts is because I did so much for this build, and it would have been a really long part if I hadn't have split it up a little bit, and it would have just been me speaking for an hour. I would have been absolutely worn out. So I decided to split it up. I thought that would be the safe option for this, and I could really explain about the third and second floor after I've done it. So that will be coming up really soon. The second and third floor isn't actually that long. I probably only have about 20 minutes of footage for that one, so it's actually pretty quick, so you'll get to see that. But anyway, so at this point I was picking out the flooring for the build. I thought that this was really important to do, even though I did change it a lot. You can just see what I used for this part because I think it's important. I think it is for just seeing the build and thinking about the mind process of what was going on here. I did change it a lot though. I think those black and white tiles to the right really did inspire me to do something a bit unusual for this build. So I did focus a lot on the flooring throughout this build, and I did a lot of work on the floor just throughout. I think the main room that I spent a lot on was the kitchen, which you'll see in a little bit, but I think that was the general idea. I didn't want to stick to the exact layout of the build itself, the Great Gatsby mansion, because I couldn't really see around it in the pictures. I could only see just bits of the rooms, and also I didn't want to go too overboard and focus too much on what it really looks like, because I didn't want to make anything too exact. I wanted to use my imagination as well and do something that I think would look nice inside, so that's what I decided to do there. So this was the hallway. The hallway was humongous. The hallway was one of the biggest rooms of this lot, and in fact all the rooms are really big. I made a big deal out of making the rooms big because I thought that it was important for a build like this. I want it to feel like a really grand mansion, and I want people to walk in and be absolutely amazed, like, oh, wow, it's so big. And I want the Sims to just be really easy to find as well. I find when I do big mansions with smaller rooms, it's sometimes quite difficult to find the Sims, so I thought that this would be a good in-between to do this, and that's what I decided on. So at this point I was decorating the flooring. I was trying to figure out which bits I liked, which bits I didn't like, which bits I was keeping, and I did decide on going for a black floor. Black and yellow was the main theme throughout this build. I thought maybe black and gold actually, maybe black, yellow and gold, all those kind of colours, because I just thought that was very Gatsby-ish, and it just really reminded me of the film, the house in the film, and I just like that. I just really love those colours. That's what I was doing. I was also picking out these floor tiles, and I think what I really love about them is when they're in this pattern they all look odd, and I love that. And it might put a few people off. Like, if you wanted to change it then I wouldn't mind, of course, but I mean, I just like it. I like the fact that they're all odd and uneven, and it just gives a really lovely effect to a close-up picture. I just really love it. So that's what I decided to do on that one. So I was then thinking about decorations throughout the room. I wanted some really big pictures. So what I did was I started enlarging things. I enlarged this humongous picture, as you'll see now. I put some general things around the room, just some objects. I made sure that I put a lot of different trophies because I thought that trophies were important for this build, because I know that Gatsby was a little bit boastful, is that a word? Like he boasted about a couple of things, and that's just kind of like what his personality was, I guess. Like he wasn't bragging on purpose, but he wanted to kind of set the backstory for himself, and he told a lot of kind of fibs or exaggerated things. So I think that in the hallway itself there'd be a lot of different stories that he could potentially tell about different items and things. So that's why I put a lot of trophies, like a lot of sculptures just from throughout. I also put some chests in the hallway because I wanted some places for storage and to keep some antiques in there, maybe, I don't know. But I also put an atlas in between them because I wanted to think about all the places that Gatsby said that he went, and that's what I was thinking about that part. I was really focusing on the minor details, but I think it's important for this build because I really wanted it to be exact as I could potentially make it, so that's what I did. I put some bookcases around, and I know that some people aren't keen on me using this amount of bookcases, but honestly, when we get more of a choice of items, I promise you I will use like a lot less, but at the moment I just couldn't think of anything else to put there, so that's what I did. I put a little place in the hallway for a study, just to have a computer there because I wanted to think about security for this build. I wanted to think about if there was a receptionist or something working here. I thought a lot about that, and I thought, where would they be? I thought maybe in the main hallway. I thought it was an important thing to add just to give the effect of security for this build, because I would expect that there'd be a lot of security, there'd be a lot of people protecting this house from burglars and things, because I know that we cannot have burglars in The Sims 4, even though we could in The Sims 3, and it was a really, really amazing random event because it kind of made you a little bit paranoid, but it was good. Like, I liked it. I liked having burglars. I wish we had them back, even though it was a bad thing to happen. I just thought in The Sims 4 it was probably one of the best random events that could happen, and I liked it in a strange way. I liked having different obstacles to make sure that the burglars couldn't get through them, and I thought that it would be a pretty fun addition. But maybe we will at some point, and maybe you will be able to use that area for a receptionist, or you will be able to put some CCTV there. Anyway, so this room here was the piano room. I couldn't really think about what to put in here. I definitely didn't want to put another lounge because I'd already decided where I was going to put the lounge. So when I say another, I was already fully aware at this point as to where I was going to have the lounge. So this was just an extra room. It was somewhere that I would expect the guests to go, and being the main room that leads to the outside, I wanted to make it so that it was a jazz room and it was a place where the family or the guests could really sit down and they could play some music. So what I did is I put some really fancy floor tiles on the floor, which you'll see, and I had to mess around with that, and I put a piano in the middle there eventually, which I was happy with. I was happy that it ended up like that because it's something that I have always really thought about, having it a really glamorous area. I went to a restaurant a really, really long time ago, and they had a piano in the main hallway, and it was the most glamorous thing ever. It even had red rope around it. It looked amazing. I didn't want to go that far though, and also I couldn't find any red rope. I don't know if we have it in The Sims 4. I couldn't seem to find it though. I've never used it before, but I don't know, we'll see. I'm going to do a cinema build at some point when we get the new movie stuff pack out, so yeah, maybe I will use it if we do have it. I'll have to have a proper look next time and do it. But I mean, I wasn't really thinking too much into having rope there, so I just kind of left it open. So that is what you'll see. But in this room, there's just some general items around it. I put some plants, I filled it up with some ornaments, some sculptures. I tried to make it blend in with the hallway as much as possible, so it's still gone with the same colour themes of black, gold and white, because I think that's important for this build, and it really does make me think of The Great Gatsby. I would not see this interior in many other builds, really, I mean realistically, and if I was to see this from an outside perspective, I would definitely say Great Gatsby straight away, because that is just what it makes me think of. So up here I was decorating this area, but it is wonky, and I'm so sorry for those people that don't like wonky things in my builds. I am so sorry, but I do actually change it in a little bit because I realized that it was wonky because I put a door there, but the door was so well camouflaged because it was one of those bookcases that I actually forgot about it. So I did actually go back in a little bit and I changed some things around, so you'll see that and what I did there, hopefully. Anyway, yeah, I do go down. Maybe it's in part 3 though, I'm not sure. Maybe you have to wait till then, I don't know. But anyway, so I was just adding some more things. I did enlarge that picture from the spooky stuff pack, and I know that a lot of people don't like me using the smaller version of that, because what can sometimes happen is it can change to that really spooky face and it can creep some people out. But I figured out a trick that if you don't and keep it the way it is, and if you change it and enlarge it to the large version of it, then it won't stay as a spooky face and it should look quite nice. So I try to use that as often as I can in my builds. I think it looks really, really special for the mansions instead of just having it just around and about really small homes. So that's what I decided. But at this point we were on to the study. I wanted to make the study quite a unusual room, and I wanted to put in a criminal career track computer because Gatsby did deal with alcohol and things like that. I mean, the way that he got his money, I don't know whether it was legal, I'm not sure, but I thought that that would be a good computer to put in this room. I put some bags of money as well because I thought that that would be a nice feature just to have around this one. And I also did make the room to be pretty dark to go with the rest of the house. I didn't want to kind of veer off too much and go with another colour. I put some alcohol in, so I did put a keg there. There are some kegs just around and about this build because that's where Gatsby made his money. He made it in alcohol, and that's what I thought. I actually did go with a whole alcohol room in a bit, so you'll see that when we go up to the kitchen. I think, in fact, next to this room, there is a room just absolutely filled with those kegs, and it's quite a special room because it's all gold. So that's quite a nice feature for this build, I think. But this study, I think it was just a plain room. It wasn't a humongous room. I wanted to make it quite small because I didn't want to make it a big feature, because I think I put about 3 computers in the whole house in total. So there's a lot of room for going on the computer for your Sims to use. So this room is the kitchen. This is the room that I probably spent the longest amount of time doing. I know that in a build like this, the kitchen wouldn't necessarily be the biggest room, or it wouldn't probably look like this. It would probably look quite industrial, and it would have a lot of staff members working there, like chefs, assistant chefs. So it wouldn't really be that decorative. But I thought with this build, since we can't really have staff in a house, I thought that I would make it decorative to go with the rest of the build. And I thought with it being the kitchen's usually the room with the most decorative amounts of tiles on the floor in a standard house. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna go all out and do some really fancy floor patterns. So that's what I did. I spent about 30 minutes just putting down the floor tiling for this room, and I was really happy with how it turned out. It was a long process to it getting there, and to me really making it look as perfect as I could. So there's a lot of time and effort spent on this room in general. It's one of my favorite rooms in this build, and if you follow me on Twitter, then you would have seen that I posted a picture in advance of this room because I wanted everyone to see it, and I wanted you to get a real feel of what it looks like on the inside. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, then you can find the links below if you do want to see more pictures like this room before I actually post it on YouTube. Then that's where I'll be doing it. So I was just really thinking about inspiration at this point. I was thinking of ideas for floor tiles. I was trying to look at pictures of the build. I took a lot of inspiration from the hallway of the actual Great Gatsby home itself. So what I did is I was thinking a lot about how Gatsby has his initials on the floor, and I couldn't really do that, unfortunately. I would have loved to have done that because I would have done a really amazing job at that, because I would have spent a lot of time doing that probably throughout the build, and that would be a really signature thing, but unfortunately I couldn't. So I had to go with something a little bit special in here, so that's what I decided to do. I was also putting some black stone around it because I wanted to separate those black and white tiles. I was feeling like I used a lot of them and I didn't want to use as many as I did. So I thought that instead what I'd do is I would try to black it out a bit. I put some more black around the areas and try to really take the whole feel off those black and white tiles because there was so many of them. I thought about adding some gold as well, so I can't remember if I put gold in this room. It's been a very long time since I've seen it, to be honest, so I don't know. But anyway, I was decorating the wallpaper at this point. I'm pretty happy that the floor is nearly finished, I think. Anyway, I did add some gold. Yes, I did. I added some gold and purple to the floor that you'll see now. But yeah, so at this point I was putting in some different colours because I thought that the black and white was just too plain for this room. I wanted to keep with the whole rich, expensive feel of the house itself. So I did spend a lot of time just thinking about different ways that I could incorporate that feeling in, and that's what I decided to do. So what I did in the end as well is I started putting in some curtains. I wanted to use some black and gold curtains because they were the ones that really stood out to me, and I didn't really have much of a choice to use anything else. It's actually very difficult to find a curtain that will match the big stained glass window and be big enough as well, because it's a really big window. It takes up 3 spaces on a wall, so I had a bit of a difficult time figuring out what I put there. So in the end, what I did is I did go with the same curtains as I used in the hallway because it did fit just about, but it did fit, and I did change the ones that I've got at the moment. I did think about going for purple, but I just didn't think that it looked that good. I think that I will do a purple and black room at some point, but I just didn't think that it looked very Gatsby-ish. I think that for Gatsby, I think he'd have everything pretty much being gold and black because that's the kind of colour. They're the colours that remind me of jazz, and I think that was one of the main eras of that time. So that's what the film was really about. So that's what I thought a lot about that. I was also just putting those curtains around on the various windows, so I didn't actually use them on the really small stained glass windows that you'll see just in the corner there, because what I did end up doing is just putting a seating area there and leaving it quite plain, but you could put them there if you wanted to. So I started putting the counts in at this point. I went with using the black ones, the really, really dark ones, the ones that are used for the most houses in The Sims 4 because I just thought they were a great match. I liked the really dark black. I thought that it went with the kitchen tiles and it just gave a really nice feel to it rather than just using the paler ones that we got with the cool kitchen stuff. I thought they were too modern and I thought these were quite nice because they look quite traditional and they went with the build itself. I did put in a humongous gold painting from the Sims 4 Get Together. I just loved it so much. I just wanted to use it in this build, so I did actually keep it in the kitchen. I kept it there because I thought that it looked quite nice being there. It looked really expensive, and even though it's probably not exactly the place that a oil painting like that would be, I just thought it was a really nice effect to this wall, and that's what I did. I left it there. So I couldn't really think of what else to put there, and it would have probably looked plain just being nothing there. So that's what I did. I found some really nice seats that I was very happy with. So I used the black and gold round ones at the front there, and I was really happy with how they turned out. I put the little seating area here. I don't know if you'd be able to put more seats in, but I couldn't figure out what to do with that area, even though it is quite a nice area to use. You could put a little bathroom there if you wanted to, instead of having that seating area, because there are plenty of seating areas in this build. There are so many, so you don't have to have a seating area there if you don't want to. You could change it around, you could put so many different things there. I just couldn't think at this precise moment. I was so occupied with the general layout of this room and how I could potentially fill up everything else that I wasn't really thinking of that really small area, so I did unfortunately leave that a little bit neglected, so sorry about that. But anyway, so I put a fireplace in the kitchen. I thought that this would be really unusual and it would be a place that the family or the guests could sit while they were waiting for their food. I just thought this would be a really lovely addition. So I thought about a seating room because I think the lounge is very far away from the kitchen. If you're looking at it from a layout point of view, it's actually quite far away. They're opposite ends. So it's quite nice to have a place for the family to socialise. There's a lot of mixed artwork in this house as well. So you might find some pieces of artwork that might look like it's from a film or from a book, like you'll see above the fireplace there. And the reason is because I wanted to really have a think about what Gatsby would have in his build and what he would actually hang up on the wall. And I thought maybe some things from Hollywood movies, I don't know. That was what I was really thinking at that point. So you'll see that a lot, especially in part 3, because there's a lot of rooms upstairs which have the whole movie feel too, and I really tried to focus a lot on that. So you will see that coming up shortly. And this room in here was probably one of my favourite rooms. I don't know what it was about it, but I just thought it looked really special, and it's just something that I haven't actually thought about doing before, and I was quite proud of coming up with this idea and finding the right things to go in here. So I had an alcohol room because that is how Gatsby earned his money, and I thought that this was important to have in this build because this would be it. This would be Gatsby's room. It'd be a secret room behind the kitchen. You could even put a bookcase here if you wanted to and have it super secret, but I just didn't feel like doing that because I used so many bookcase doors, and it got to the point where I used so many that I actually forgot where I put the rooms, and it was actually very difficult to decorate them because I couldn't find them. So yes, that's what I did. I put a lot of kegs, which I really liked. And I did also include a secret room upstairs, which is going to be filled with gold and paintings. So that will be in part 3 if you stick around for that. And I was just filling it up with more alcohol. I found those wine glasses, no, wine bottles? Yes. So they look a bit strange, but I tried to pile them on top of each other because I didn't just want the kegs in here. I wanted to mix it with other things as well. So that's what I ended up doing. This little room here was, I think it was just a bathroom. I really did feel like I didn't put as many bathrooms in as I should have downstairs, and I definitely forgot that. I got super inspired by what I could do in this build, and the creativity just kind of took over, and I was thinking about different secret rooms that I could put in. So I did forget about bathrooms and where I could potentially put them, but I did put, I think, about 2 or 3 bathrooms downstairs by the end of it, so I did actually add some. So if you're worried that you haven't seen a bathroom apart from this one yet, there will be some more coming up, and there will definitely be some more upstairs as well. And I did go a bit overboard on one of my bathrooms, I think, so that will be probably in part 3, which you'll see upstairs. But yes, I was just decorating this room to look like the rest of the house. I put some artwork in as well. I put one of those really big paintings in. It's probably one of my favourite paintings actually. And that was that room. So this room over here was the piano room, or the organ room, I guess. It's actually shown in the film where Gatsby takes Daisy into the ballroom and they dance the music and he gets his organ player to come out and play some tunes. But unfortunately we can't have organs, and the day we get organs is the day that I'm going to come back, I'm going to redecorate this house and I'm going to stick an organ there because it's going to look really, really good with one in, and I just could not do it unfortunately, but I'll come back to it and I will do something. But I couldn't even use the moving objects cheat and put something behind it to make it look like an organ. It just wasn't really working out for me because the piano is so big that it just wouldn't have really worked. So sorry about that, but yes, it will happen in the future and I will make sure to do something. But I did actually use somebody's suggestion that someone gave me a really long time ago to do a ballroom. Someone was asking me to do a ballroom for one of my big builds and I decided to. So this is more or less the ballroom area. This is where I would expect the guests to go, have some live music and make it look really, really special in here. So I put a bar area. I know there's a bar that's going to be outside and there's probably going to be one upstairs as well, but I just think that this one looks really nice just being here, just for effect. Even if it's not used, I just think it looks really good being here. But if you did want to have a proper closed off ballroom, then you could just delete it and just have Sims just around here just dancing and things for big parties. I think that would look really, really good. And if you do, remember to send me screenshots because I love that kind of thing. So if you are on Twitter, if you do have Sims in this ballroom, then yes, just tag me and I will have a look at it. For the ballroom though, I put a humongous chandelier because I just thought that it gave an amazing effect to the room and I thought that it looked really, really special even though you can't see it from below. You can only see it when you go up on the second floor. I think that it still looks good, and what I really like about this room is the fact that you can actually see it from the archways on the second floor and you can have your Sims overlooking the room. So I think it looks really, really grand just being there, and it's one of my favourite rooms in the build even though it's very simple and it doesn't have a lot of detail in. So this was the lounge in here. I thought about having a dining room in here, but I did actually change my mind because I felt like the dining room was too far away from the kitchen and I just hate that. I really do. I try not to do that in my builds anymore because I did it once and I just didn't like it at all. And when I actually played with the house, I just felt like it was too far away and it just meant that the Sims spent so much time faffing about in the kitchen. Then they had to walk all the way to the dining room and it didn't really work very well. So I decided to move it a little bit closer and have this as a lounge instead, which went quite nicely because there's a few lounges or seating rooms around the house itself, so it's not really a big deal to have this over the other side of the house, and it's quite nice really. I was trying to adjust the ivy though because the ivy was poking into the walls, and that is one of my real pet hates for The Sims. I just wish that it didn't do that, but of course it's a really easy fix and I did try to remove as much as I could. There's still a little bit poking out to the left, but I did move that in a little bit, so even if it's off camera, that will not be there in the build itself at all. In fact, I went round and I was very picky about where everything was, and I made sure that it didn't poke in because I don't like that. I just don't like that at all. Yeah, that's when I got rid of it, so that's very good that I did leave that in, so I'm happy with that. But this room, I did try to keep it grey. I didn't want another black and gold room because I was just feeling like it was all black and gold and I wanted something a little bit different maybe, but to still keep with the colour scheme of a dark colour. So I thought grey would be a good start to that, and I thought that grey would be really lovely, and I thought that for a lounge it's kind of perfect because it has the modern vibe as well. I mean, it's not too modern because I don't want it, of course, being too modern because it's still supposed to be the 1920s when this house was made, or when it was designed by Gatsby. That was the year that I think the book was supposed to be written in, 1922. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to keep with that whole era and the whole feel of the house, so I was very picky as to what I put in, even though I did put a DJ table up on the third floor, but we'll just ignore that because that is irrelevant. But anyway, so yes, I did put a little table in the lounge as well because I wanted somewhere for the Sims to sit other than just a sofa, because I thought, you know, games table or something. I wasn't sure about a chess table, even though that would have been a really nice feature probably to put in here, but I just didn't. I wasn't really keen on chess tables throughout this. In fact, I thought that the chess tables themselves probably look better being outside, so I put about 2 or 3 of them just outside alone. So I thought that was quite nice to really use the garden for the activities, so I really like that idea, so that's what I did. I did try to use this window here because I put in a strange window in this room. If anyone's noticed this by now, I did it on purpose. I just really liked it for the inside. I thought I'd make it special and I'd have it as a bit of a feature. I think I come back to it though in a little bit because at the moment I was decorating the dining room. I was very undecided about this room and what I'd have in there. So originally I thought about having the pillars and making it look really posh, but in the end I didn't really like those pillars for this room. It just looked too much, and those pillars definitely belong on the exterior of a build and not the interior. So what I did is I did this room to a really basic standard, and then I came back later on and I redid it. But I didn't actually film me doing it, so what I did is I undid everything and then redid everything. So it's actually in a really weird order, but I'll show you that in a little bit. I did also play around with the floor tiles, but I wasn't too happy with what I came up with. So a lot of this I don't leave in, even though I did want to show you this. I wanted you to see exactly what I did, like what I was thinking about, in case you like any ideas from this with what I did, so you can try it yourself. That's what I tried to do. So I did bring back the gold from the hallway and try to blend that in. And it was kind of working. I do like this pattern, but for me it just looked too similar to what I did in the piano room, and I just felt like I could do so much more with this room, and I could really incorporate some carpets into this room and make this a little bit different to the rest of the house maybe. And I wanted to kind of keep with the colours, of course, of the black and gold, but do something that really did complement it rather than just kind of match it like the rest of it. So that's what I was thinking. The thing that I really liked about this room was the fact that there was arches around it and it looked really open and it looked like it was part of the outdoors area. I think that's probably one of my favourite things about this build, the fact that the dining room is like that, because it just looks really nice, it looks really bright in here, and it's one of those rooms that you can do so many things with. So if you don't like it being a dining room here, then you could easily change it for something else. To be honest, I did actually think about having it as a party room, but the feeling just wasn't really happening whilst I was thinking about that. So I don't know, maybe I will at some point. Maybe I'll have like an outdoor party room or something, I don't know. Maybe I will. But anyway, so what I did is I duplicated the table. So I had the table being humongous, and the reason is because I wanted so many guests to be here. And I didn't even end up leaving it white. I actually changed the whole colour of the table to brown, and I thought they looked really special doing that. One of the last things that I did for the build completely was actually go back and do the dining room over completely and change the whole colour of it. So even though you see it completely unfinished now, I do actually go back in the end and I change it around. So that's what I did. I put a bathroom in here, and I know that it's a really strange choice because we have those humongously arched windows, and I know that a lot of people do think about privacy in a house like this and functionality, and I just feel like, I mean, if I put in some curtains and if I put in a border so that you couldn't actually see what the Sims were doing in the bathroom whilst there was a party going on outside, then it wouldn't be a big deal. So I was kind of thinking about that. I was trying to make it look private in here as well. So I was really having a think about how I could do that. And that was, I mean, one of the ways that I could. But of course, a lot of the windows in this build are very open, big windows anyway, or archways. So it would have looked like this all the way through. So there wasn't really a good way that I could have done this. So that's how I left it. Of course, if you want to change it, then you can. That's just what I was thinking. But I did actually put in a walk-in closet over there, and we are back to the dining room. So this is when I changed the colours round, and as you can see, I started changing pretty much everything. It's at a really fast pace, and that was because I undid everything and then I redid everything. So that's what I did. Unfortunately, I couldn't really film it because I just didn't have a chance to do that. I did add the red plant back in the middle, so you'll see that after a little bit. So I was experimenting with the rugs, and I was thinking about what I could have underneath the table and how I could make it really long and go with this table look of it, and I decided to go with 2 square rugs and just stick them together. I thought they looked a little bit unusual, but I think that it worked in a strange way. I've never actually done this before, but I think that I will probably do it again in the future. Maybe I'll do it with 3 and make a super long table. I don't know. That's what I was thinking. I started changing the colours of the curtains as well. I thought they looked better in the cream colour, and I was then just adjusting the bits and bobs to the dining room. But we are in the outside now. I started to do various decorations around the garden. I didn't want to go too overboard though, because I was really keen on the way that the garden looked. I thought that it looked nice with all the flowers and things, so I didn't want to fill it up too much with too much unnecessary things in the garden. So I did just put the essentials in and just left it like that because I really liked it. So I decided to have the white theme for the garden to make it look really angelic and fairy tale-ish, because I love that about the Gatsby mansion. I think that's one of the best things about it, is that it just has this whole fairy tale theme to it. So I liked it. I used some wedding chairs for the chess tables, which is really unusual, but I like it. It looks like a wedding setup and it would be perfect for weddings here. If you didn't even want to use it for a home, you could definitely use this for a communal lot. If you wanted to have it as a wedding mansion, you could definitely do that and have your Sims get married here. I added a microphone stand over where the pool is because I just think that looks really special being there, and I actually tried it out on live mode. It looks really good when you hire an entertainer and have them there, because it just looks really special with all the fountains and things, all the water features that are around it. It just looks really special at night as well. So that's what I did. I thought about having a bonfire area here, but I think I actually changed this area right at the very end and I put a dance floor. So if you don't see it at the moment, then you'll see it on the screenshots, and that is one of the really few things that I did change with the garden that I just didn't show you on camera. And I think that's because when I tested it, it just didn't look great being there, and I just changed that around a little bit. I had an area that could be used as a proper dance place. I also moved the fountain that you'll see on the other dance place to the right. I moved that off and I put it to the side, so you'll probably see that on the screenshots. But this was the area that I used for a hot tub area. I thought about having it for a summer house or an annex, but when I actually thought about it, I just didn't like the shape of it, and I thought that it looked too strange to be a house separate to this build. So what I did end up doing was having an outdoor hot tub area, which I thought was nice, as it's really close to the pool, and I like it. I think it looks special. I tried to keep it silver. I didn't want to go with black and gold because I'd used too much black and gold by this point. So I just thought I wouldn't do that, and I just keep it this way. I used the haunted, or no, it's not the haunted, it's the spooky stuff pack. I used the spooky stuff pack flooring for this build, just for this part of it. I just think it looks really special. I love those floorboards. I think I'm going to use them a bit more in my builds because I'm really keen on them. In fact, they're my favourite floorboards at the moment, so I will probably be using those again at some point. I put some curtains around, the cream ones, because I just really like the effect that it gives this room. Makes it look really classy and really expensive and wealthy, so that's what I did. So at the top here, I wanted to use the top, and I then remembered that I put no stairs. So what I did is I changed the inside of the hot tub area around a little bit. I put a staircase going up from there so that you could actually access that floor and your Sims could look out to the sea and see what's going on around them. The plot I actually used was on the Bluffs Island. A lot of people have been asking me that in the comments. I used the one there. So there's only two 64/64s in Winterberg, and I just happened to use that one because it had the best look to it. It had a really lovely lake surrounding it. So it was a good opportunity to use it for my build. So that's what I did. I took some of the archways out because I didn't want one that was over the staircase, but that is the build. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'm just going to show you the screenshots. So this is the first one. This is the hallway, and I tried to make it pretty grand, as you'll see. You can see the floor pattern. This one's the kitchen, so we can just have a little bit of a look at that. You can see how it turned out. We're onto the piano room, so I think it looked pretty special with the piano in the middle there. I like that. This is the ballroom, so you can see the pianos there, and I've put some rugs there as well, which I like. So this is the lounge. Now the lounge stuck with the grey look. I didn't put the fireplace, unfortunately, on, but that was that. So this is the study. I think that this looks pretty good. This is the alcohol room, so you can see what it looks like inside, and you can see that I put some flowers in. This is the dining room. I did add one of those rose bushes to the table afterwards though, so it will be there when you download it. This is the garden, so you can see the top terrace area with the piano and things. I took a picture of the pool so you can see that as well, how it looks in the daytime. And that is the build. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all for part 3. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.